Hi guys, I'm Garen.
I'm JD.
And this is Investigating Comic Club, where we chronologically read, review, discuss, and rate specific crucial stories of the medium.
Indeed, and we hope that you guys will subscribe to become Misfit members of Comic Club yourselves. Share your own opinions of the stories in the comments below. Stick around till after our conversation for our episodic comic quality poll, as well as after our Misfit Picture Show's logo for any potential bloopers that the episode could provide. Mr. Garen,
Yes.
Here we are again. Tonight we are doing X-Men Fantastic Four by Chip Zdarsky, Terry and Rachel Dodson, married couple, pencil and ink team, and Laura Martin, who is a favorite of mine as far as a colorist for, I think, decades.
There you go.
Yeah. I remember her doing extraordinary work on The Authority, on Planetary.
Nice, yes.
Warren Ellis back in the day. Chip Zdarsky, I don't think I've read anything of his. Have you? Any of you Deadpools or...
I don't know.
Was he involved with any of the Maximum?
The name sounds
Absolute
familiar,
Carnage?
actually, but I don't think so.
I know that he is one of Marvel's go-to guys, but I don't think I've read anything of his. Came after my time. I thought that the art and colors were clean, as is often the case with Rachel and Terry Dodson. And I think that their cleanliness matched the story and feeling of the comic. Like there were high stakes and emotions were running high, but there was still an ease to the story that I thought was pretty good.
As we know, for especially reading these tonight, I like reading it panel by panel.
Yeah.
This one did not hold up panel by panel.
Okay.
I did have to pull back and read it page by page.
That makes sense, actually.
It wasn't as detailed in the panels.
Right.
But pulling back, it looked good. There was things where it was kind of like... The first few pages kind of weren't as clear, but then you had some details. But if you actually got close in on them, then they're like, you're kind of...
He is an artist that is a bit looser, you know, and even actually looking at the pencils at the back, she brings a lot of clarity to his work with the inks. He is a very loose artist.
Yeah.
A very, you know, very attractive people. Very attractive women in his art, especially. He is very influenced by Adam Hughes, who is an artist that does a lot of covers, and he's kind of known for the lovely ladies.
Yeah, no, but that's one thing I just noticed is the close-upness wasn't as good, but pulled back. The action shots were fun and interesting to look at.
Cool. I thought that the opening prologue, the setup of who Franklin is, you know, I haven't read Franklin Richards in ages, but it kind of sets the
I was
stage
glad. It was
for
the
you.
first time where I'm like, I know exactly what his powers are. I know what he's doing. Like, this is great.
Even though, like, his powers are, like, more big idea kind of thing, but you still
But it still gave me more of that. And even then I was like, okay, who is this person? Okay, I don't know that much. And even when it had later on with him and Kate, and then it has the go back to X-Men versus Fantastic Four, 1987?
Oh, right. Yeah, wow.
1987. I'm like, oh, there that is. Where it's like, have to go back and now read that run.
You had, did you actually, you wanted to?
It was one of those,
well,
it was just added to another thing of being like, what we've mentioned before, where it's like for it to really connect the story, like it's not something you need to know, but it is cool that you do throw that in there for if you want to keep going. Yeah.
Considering how few times we've experienced Dawn of X establishing who characters are, what their powers are.
Yeah.
This, clearly it's going to be focused on Franklin. This establishes it in a couple pages, you know, and that is so simple to do.
Yeah.
And such a rarity in the X-Men comics for you. Like,
no, I don't know half the time
what they do or who they are or whatever. And it's glaring. And I think that Chip Zdarsky did a good job here as far as setting it up and even setting up how the Fantastic Four got their powers. You know that
it told
stuff.
you that. Even if you, me already knowing, but it tells you just enough to like set the stage. or like I think it was like maybe 2 spots, like two
sentences.
two
really.
sentences, really, and just told you how it happened, and for you to know that, and it was cool for kind of like going into the story a little bit with the Reed Richards tech page.
Yeah.
And then mentioning this God power, and I put God power equals Krakoa, is what I kind of connected the dots there, where it's like, oh, he needs this to kind of power him up, you know?
Yeah.
And it is cool when Ben...
That's an interesting observation for sure.
When Ben brings up to... Well, not Ben doesn't bring it up, but when Franklin brings up to Ben as far as like, come on, you've always been the strong arm. They needed me. Is he not like kind of throwing out there as far as...
He might not be consciously doing this.
Yeah, consciously do it, but is he like not... He's able to, you know...
Do everything.
Everything. But he
He's the
can't
smartest
turn
man
you
on the
back,
planet.
and he can't fix me. Like, what is going on? What's the hidden thing here?
I think that's interesting as well. I like that you mentioned that about Krakoa, because that God power idea, if it is Krakoa for mutants, it's interesting that it's been cut off from him, forcing mutants to go to Krakoa.
Yeah.
Another way to isolate them. And again, this episode, or this issue, I appreciated Chip Zdarsky's, it was almost like a responsible clash of ideas and different viewpoints. I liked having what Sue was saying about just all the doubts that we've been having.
Yeah.
I like that Kitty was there, kind of the reasonable one. With just Professor X and just Magneto in other comics, I don't agree with them.
Yeah.
So with this one, having both perspectives, it was refreshing. Because also Kitty was there, and I understood what she was doing and the support she was giving to Franklin.
Yeah.
Storm, I understood what her perspective was.
Yeah.
I understood what Ben was, his perspective. And Sue, certainly, like, you know, she had heightened emotions. She may have gone too quick, too fast, but this is her son. But Reed, Magneto, and Professor X, all three of them, you know.
Yeah.
I didn't like their actions. I didn't like the way they were doing things, but it was fine because there were all these other personalities.
Yeah, there was all
and
those added in, and we have and it goes to that whole how you see somebody, how you see a character, because now what 30-something issues of all this Dawn of X stuff. We have a viewpoint of what we see Magneto and Professor X. We have that in our head coming in here. If this is your first time jumping in, you're like, oh sweet, I like Fantastic Four. They're doing X-Men, sweet, let's jump on board with this series. You don't have that initial preconceived notions of who their mindset are, you know. So it's like, so then taking that kind of out of there, like you said, it did help with having all these characters kind of in there, because then it kind of
it balances
it out. Yeah, it kind of each person played their part.
Yeah. Do you think a new reader who potentially is a Fantastic Four reader and not an X-Men reader, do you feel like they would come in? I would imagine that they would be skeptical as well and distrusting of Magneto and Professor X.
Especially if it's versus. You're like, who's the leader of them? Who's this? You know.
Yeah, kind of appropriately so.
Yeah, the shot of them on page 23.
Yeah, what did you think?
That's kind of what jumped out and changed. Like, I mean, I like the art when I pulled back finally, and like some of these, like even the panel of Magneto in her field of
Her force field.
force field, and then but this one really was like, oh, that's poster.
Soldier.
You know, yeah, I was like, oh, that looks really cool.
Yeah, it's definitely a different style than I think you've seen, but he definitely has his qualities. So Kitty's pretty great here. She can get emotional, but she is reasonable. And I think she's much more reasonable here than we've seen in Marauders. To a point that it's actually kind of a clash. Like, she seems almost like a different character. Also, she doesn't have her tattoos. Pyro doesn't have the skull tattoo. Like, is this taking place before some of those issues when they get the tattoos in Marauders?
And I did wonder that, as far as, are they... Where is this at in that timeline?
Yeah, but it does. It almost seems like I think he nailed Magneto and stuff, but it seems inconsistent between the Marauders we've read about.
Well, and that
compared to this.
I even put that at the end of my review. I put Marauders crossover. No.
I actually liked these Marauders
and I did,
from this issue.
But just where my mindset is with Marauders, this issue in a nutshell, I liked. It was, whether or not I wanted to keep going with it, it is nice that it is only four issues, but the mindset of, again, it goes back to where your head is. When you think of Professor X, you might not know him. For here, I think of Marauders, I think of the last 6 issues I've read, and I go there. So then I think, it's Marauders, but honestly, it fits that Marauders storyline as far as the art, in a sense, with that fun, it's kid-centered, and it's parents just don't understand.
Right.
That's what I read here in this whole going back and forth.
But one of the things I appreciate with
Zdarsky,
Chip Zdarsky here, so one of the things I appreciate with him is that within Franklin's adolescence, there is a maturity to his character.
Yeah.
You understand it, and it feels appropriate, the way that he's acting. His frustration towards his dad, even though there are moments where he feels certainly adolescent.
Yeah.
And you kind of think, wow, you need to grow out of that. You don't feel like, oh, he's such a immature punk. So I do agree that this has that feel that Marauders is going for, but I think that this writer is more successful at it than
it's
Jerry Dugan.
It is. It's that where your head's at, where it's like we just finished Marauders. So, and again, it just wasn't my cup of tea. It could be yours for Marauders. This then gave it more of a second hope of being like, oh no, I do like these characters. It reminded me of the first issue of Marauders, where I'm like, oh, I do enjoy this.
Yeah.
And then Fantastic Four, it reminded me of the excitement I had when I heard about this being released.
Right.
Prior to reading all of the Dawn of X.
Yeah, I think a little bit of that pleasure was there as well for me. I think with the amount of issues we've gotten in the Dawn of X we've talked about before, there has been that inconsistency with characters. Like the Apocalypse from Excalibur is a little different from the Apocalypse that Hickman writes. He's like there seems to be when I think of Hickman's Apocalypse, there seems to be like an authority to him that's almost royalty. Yeah. And then in Excalibur, it was a bit more, he was another one of the group. Yeah. He didn't stand apart, even though he betrayed and stuff like that. This one, I felt like it was a refreshing look at how part of the Marvel Universe might be looking towards what the X-Men are doing, like outsiders, but within still the insiders. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that I just enjoyed quite a lot. And I thought that with going with that Krakoan thing about potentially taking away the god power to lore, we were talking about Omega mutants in the House of X, Powers of X, and how they wanted to get all those on top of the Krakoa. One of the things that really resonated with me, or at least stuck with me in this issue, was when Reed Richards said, "What concerns me, Chuck, is the timetable. That you have like a timetable on getting Franklin to Krakoa. Something's up." And that kind of reinforces our idea of something is up. Yeah. And it was just refreshing for me to have those ideas confirmed, all of those doubts, and being like, oh boy, others are seeing it. Yeah. The grand reveal at the end was fun. Yeah.
And then, just even leading up and I'm part of Fantastic Four, but I'm also part of Professor Xavier. I'm going to have multiple enemies.
Yeah, that was cool. And it was an unexpected reveal.
At the comic shop last week, there's been talks of, again, for a comic shop, they love it because they're getting money from it. But, and me, I just am new into comics. Would you agree or disagree that the amount of variant covers from the past to now. Back in the day, it used to be there were so little few where it's like, you got a variant? No way.
Right.
Oh, there's a variant? Oh my gosh, you got that one? Now it's like for every issue, there's 5 to 10 variants for each issue. What are your thoughts on that?
That's interesting that you should say that and bring that up. That was a conversation that you were having with the people that were working at the store?
Yes.
Okay. It's kind of it's a loaded question, actually, and there are a lot of different opinions going around, and I'm just surprised, you being such a new reader, that you're aware of that. You know, I'm pretty locked into what goes on with the comic industry, even though I haven't been reading for a while.
Yeah.
And I've even not been locked in since we've been doing these podcasts as much. You're the one going to the store and you're the one picking up the books.
Yep.
I really am surprised. So the store owners were saying that what?
Someone at the store was just talking about
one of the customers.
Oh, I want this variant. Oh my gosh. Well, or it's like, oh, I'm going to get this one. Oh, but we have these variants. And pulls out like 7 variants. And he was like, I remember when these were like, because there are some variants where it's one per store still. They have those. But the guy, the way he was talking too, was just like, no, I remember when you couldn't even get a variant. You know, like that was just getting one variant. They weren't making variants. Like it was just, it was very rare. Now it's every issue has 4 to 5 variants. Yeah. It's like you're almost like, wait, what are the options for covers? No, just take the initial cover for what it is, not these other different
It's actually
styles.
really, really difficult for stores to order variants.
Yeah.
And to keep track of which ones to get and which ones not to. There's a risk of certain covers selling more than others, and those ones selling out quicker than somebody wants them, and then he's pissed off. So it's controversial. My personal opinion is that I think they're on special issues do a couple variants, maybe 1 or 2. If a comic sells out, you can do another printing with another variant. But the idea of there's 11 variants for issue 11 of whatever, then I think that's silly.
It's irresponsible.
You said it.
No,
I've always...
Because I enjoyed it. Even a year ago, 6 months ago, I enjoyed all these variants, but I do see even that switch. Just going in there, having the option of like, oh no, this is a cool variant. Oh, I like this one, and then I like looking at them. But then I do think about it, I'm like, there's just almost too many options.
Yeah.
Like even for this issue, there's I think 4 or 5,
Right.
And I mean I enjoy them. I enjoyed 2 of them very much so. Like I enjoyed that one.
Yeah, that's great. It's awesome.
And then I do enjoy this, even though it is like childish and everything, but it's still, it's fun, it's wholesome.
It's awesome. No, it is. It's pretty. It's very pretty. They both are.
And that's what, just seeing those, I'm just like, well, and it just reminded me of last week in that conversation and just.
What I would do, and I don't know if they do it or not, I know that this digital copy is the director's cut, so it's got all the bells and whistles, but I do feel, and I don't know if comics do this, but if you're going to have a variant, they should be kind of pinups in the back of the issue, all the different variants. Yeah. So regardless of which one you buy,
get, you can still.
You have all of them. I suppose that's a way to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really have an opinion, because whenever those have come out in the past, I'll always just get the one that I enjoy most.
Yeah.
And I'll just get one. But I've been, throughout the 90s, there was variants, and there was shiny covers, and there was this and this and that, and I would always buy whichever I enjoyed more.
Yeah.
Sometimes that would be the one that was shiny, and sometimes that would be the one that was just kind of the newsstand one that was $1 less, because I didn't like the special edition.
Yeah.
So my advice to you would be, don't go down that rabbit hole and just buy the one that you enjoy. I think it's also really cool whenever you've gotten one by Kevin Eastman. You know, he's a really great artist that you enjoy. And there he did one for House of X, and then he did one for Deadpool. And just seeing his art do those characters is special.
Yeah.
And it's almost like buying a piece of art from him.
Yeah.
You spend the $20 or whatever, get it online.
Yeah,
and
it
you
is
can
a piece of
frame
art
it.
at that point. Yeah. Because, I mean, I have...
You have the interior
Yeah, I
already
have the
for
interior
a reading
for
copy.
reading it. Yeah, but that one, I don't even open. Like, I get it and I don't even open.
It's frameable.
Yeah.
It's really pretty. Yeah. So, it's tough to say. It is what it is. The state of the industry.
Do we know when the next issue comes? Is it supposed to be a monthly, or is it... Because this, at the end of it, says comes out issue 2, February 2020. But yet, this just came out now. Is it behind and they just didn't update that?
I don't know. It's
or
probably
is it every other week, maybe?
Maybe every other week or every 3 weeks. With the amount of X-Men titles, I hope that they're not shipping it more than once every 3 weeks. What would you give it, and would you want to continue with it for the 4-issue story?
See, here's the thing. I'm a sucker for 4 issues, hence why Marvel and any comic book company knows to do it in 4 to 6, because they know people are perfectly fine with knowing there's an ending. Just smart marketing in that case. You got something going for you there. After us talking, it actually probably moved my grade up maybe a little bit. I did give it a B initially for just the paneling and the detail of the art, but then pulling back. But it as a whole, it gives a lot of information like we talked about. It establishes the powers, these characters, a little bit about each person so that you're connected. It brings the X-Men characters that we've grown to know so far in this Dawn of X, or even in the past if you love them, and then also Fantastic Four and that world of it all, and then heightens it, leads you to where you might think you're going, and then also brings in stuff that you're not sure that's going to happen, as far as the ending with Doctor Doom coming in to lead you on to wanting more, to be like, okay, what is happening here? What is going to happen next?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think I've just been so kind of jaded with some of these series so far that I just, every time I am hopeful,
you're very reluctant.
I'm very reluctant. I don't know. I could see myself reading issue 2.
Okay.
Yeah, and again, at that point, it's only 2 more after that. But yeah, so it's
up in the air.
It's up in the air, and I do.
We'll see what
I
comes
enjoyed
out
it.
the
I
week
enjoyed
that
it more
issue
than
2
I
comes?
thought I was going to.
Did you say a B plus?
A B plus, yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah.
Cool. I agree with most of what you said. I enjoyed the progression of the story that was started by Hickman in House and Powers, and seeing a little bit of the payoff and moving forward from that. I suspect that regardless of what happens in these 4 issues, Hickman has his own plans for Franklin that this series will not affect at all, personally.
Yeah.
I think whatever happens here, 12 issues from now, whatever Hickman wants to do with Franklin will play out regardless if this series existed or not.
Well, in that case...
Did you think that Reed Richards was drawn by, I think a rumored casting for Reed Richards for the MCU is, who's the gentleman that was in A Quiet Place that wrote and directed it?
Oh, really? John
Krasinski.
Krasinski.
They even have his ears
Krasinski.
like him. I have a feeling that they're leaning towards that. I think that they will cast him. And he'd be a
good one, actually.
Really good.
Yeah, he would, yeah.
Very likable.
Yeah.
And even he could pull off the smart.
Yeah. He could pull
One
off
of
the
the
smart.
things-
He's done movies, too, where he's had to be an action star, even.
Yeah. Oh,
like
yeah,
he
for
has
sure.
done. He knows how to... It's been
Quiet
in more
Place
movies.
was great. And actually, the first season of the Jack Ryan
Prime
was good. And one of the best things about him, I think with Reed, he can come off on the page as very unlikable because he's kind of just so kind of cold.
Yeah.
But Krinsky, he's a charismatic, likable actor.
Yeah.
He would make you like Reed more than you might otherwise.
Yeah.
What would I give this comic? I will give this comic a B-, but I actually enjoyed it. I'll give it a B, because I enjoyed this read, actually, a lot more than I would have expected over the last few weeks. I think I was able to disconnect a little bit and just feel like this was a good comic.
Yeah.
Let's go with, it depends on what else is coming out that week. Issue
true,
2.
True, yeah. And
That's kind of where it's at for
and
me.
I didn't think about
Do
it
you
that
agree
way,
with
which
me?
is actually a better way of putting it, because how we've talked about going forward, having at least one new thing each week, it depends on what comes out that week.
Cool. Well, I'm happy with that. I like the idea that we're putting them on the cutting board, you know?
Yeah.
So we'll see. I enjoyed it,
Yeah.
and potentially look forward to reading the next issue.
Yeah. Let us know what you guys think in the comic quality poll, A, B, C, D, or F. Then conversate in the comments below.
Yeah, I'd like to hear what you guys think. Thanks for joining us.
To be continued.